comfortable on. Just got outclassed in the last game, so I don't really have a problem with this. And Kaisa's still very, very strong if you can get her rolling and get her set up correctly. Renekton, though, does give Flandre something to work with on the top side. There's a lot of AP junglers you can combo this. We could see the Taliyah Renekton. We could see the Lillia. You have so many ways of making this work now for the side of EDG. It's actually such a strong pickup coming into the first, kind of set of picks.
Yeah, I like the Xayah here as well because obviously you're setting yourself up with that fairly even matchup between the two AD carries. This is very much becoming a Kaisa Xayah meta. And Viper showed that obviously he can take advantage of that laning phase on the Xayah up against the likes of Garvey. On the other side though, LGD opting into an AP jungler here for Quay, and not the proactive ganking type we were talking about before, going very much for a farming style, and Colt grabs himself the Gnar for the top side.
Gnar into Renekton is a pretty decent matchup. Renekton does have the kill potential, but you have pretty decent safety with the Gnar in his mini form, of course, and in the Mega, you've got a lot more team fighting potential. Lillia being taken away, I like this for the side of LGD, saying, look, we know what you're going to try and do. You're going to try and go put the AP jungler. We're going to lock it in anyway, but that does force EDG onto Taliyah. So I feel like LGD forcing the hand of EDG, but EDG not really having a problem with that at all. They had too many AP options to go with, so it was either the Lillia or it was Taliyah. They got the Taliyah.
I mean, the Taliyah was a little bit telegraphed here. You could have gone for the Nidalee as well, but both of them pair up beautifully with this Renekton. And you can see that EDG already starting to telegraph their game plan a little bit here, because they've got this Renekton Taliyah, which is a fantastic combo. You can really bully in that top side with that. But they also have the Xayah, which is fantastic on the weak side as an AD carry. You can play incredibly safe, and obviously you have that ult for safety as well. So already EDG kind of giving up what their game plan is already. I think they're quite happy to give that information over. On the side of EDG as well, the bans here, banning away Akali. I'm curious what that is going to mean in terms of that mid lane. Could mean that they want to blind something like Syndra, perhaps. The Orianna taken off the board, though, by LGD. I'm not 100% sure where the rest of the bans are going to go. We could just see full mid lane pinch. That'd be exciting.
Yeah, we could see about, overall about 6 bans put into that EDG, the mid lane put, but as EDG look to pick off some of these slightly more explosive matchups, they get rid of the Akali. I mentioned it, and it's unfortunately not going to be there. We see the set most certainly going to be going into the mid lane if it was to be banned.
We need a color caster. We need a color caster on this team.
I'll be honest with you guys.
Trying to think about mid lane matchups. I'm like, I don't know this stuff. I don't know what the Kali ban means for the mid lane pick.
I see explosions and I shout really loudly. That's my main. That is what my contract says to do on a regular basis. I am not to know the game inside out like Dagda or Lyric or Clement Chu, but I can get excited for certain things, and I can say that an EDG picking up the Zoe doesn't actually make me that excited, because I actually think that she's very boring to call.
Well, I did call the Zoe pick, though. It's incredibly good blind.
You're the color caster
thing. Scout is going to be able to get mid lane priority, especially with Orianna banned. You can just pick Syndra, though. Syndra's fine into Zoe. You can contest the priority. You can ult when she gets too close to you and just be off the back of a portal. So incredibly fine matchup for the side of Uniboy. And Uniboy is one of the players that we've been excited to see. The only downside of this intro here is you are going to have AP in your mid jungle, so not the greatest in terms of 2v2, but the same can be said on the side of EDG, so I don't think LGD are too worried about that one. And now their final pickup needs to just be the support, so you'd love to see something, maybe even just like Nautilus, honestly, coming through as the hard against support's banned out. So they do opt into that one. And
you're the color now.
Yeah, a lot of supports have been banned. A lot of supports have been banned, so it's kind of hard to decide what to go for. Thresh would be fine because you give the safety to the Xayah. Hovering the Maokai. Honestly, Maokai has sucked, man. We've seen a bit of Maokai support. It's so underwhelming. It's great in solo queue. The saplings are annoying, but honestly, like, we'll see it again. Maybe Meiko can prove me wrong. I've been thoroughly underwhelmed by Maokai support, though.
I think it definitely looks down to how it's been executed. I feel like it's kind of like the Samira priority, where it was an absolute god in solo queue, and then when you came into pro play, people just went, oh, coordinated teams know how to deal with it. Hence why we're seeing in the LPL less and less, AD carries picking it up for themselves. Maokai, I feel, is going through the same kind of iteration. It has its strengths. It very much does. It has a lot of, there's a reason why these guys are picking it. but it feels very, very telegraphed. The ultimate is just very easy to walk away from, very telegraphed. It's kind of, you know, oh, that's what they're trying to do. It's just also very, very slow, so it's not the most reliable of engages. And for overall, you know, you're looking at some of the best teams in the world, especially, you know, at minimum the best teams in China. They're gonna know how to play against it. So the Maokai coming in here for EDG. Curious to see how it'll work out for them. I feel like the Nautilus for the side of LGD is a really nice pickup here. Gives them a lot of kind of frontline engage to go in with, so they can start off with the Nautilus. If they can get the Mega Gnar out, then he can follow up with that. So I'm actually more leaning towards LGD's comp if they don't get caught out by this Renekton Taliyah combo early off.
That would be the big question, is how well can Cult do up in that top side against this combo? Because we talked about EDG being this team that very much plays to their win conditions. You've got priority in the mid lane. You've got a jungler that wants to gank for this Renekton. Scout can roam up there as well. I see tower dives in the future of Cult's existence, and I'm hoping for his sake that Quay will give him some support. But it's very possible that they just play around Garvey and abandon Quay and abandon Cult completely. We'll have to wait and see. We're on to the Rift, though. Let's get some Gyos. Fans coming out in force, as always, here, as we kick off our second game here. EDG 1-0 on the scoreboard. And if you're just joining us, if you missed the bloodbath that we just witnessed, it started off slow, and then EDG, they got what we'll refer to as an inch. And off the back of that inch, they took a mile. And then they took another mile. And then they took another mile until there was no road left for LGD. As soon as they managed to get a lead for themselves, they snowballed out of control. And so much of it was on the back of Viper on this Xayah. He's got the same pick again. And I cannot wait to see what he's going to look like in these fights.
Curious to see how he goes about it. Again, very, very safe pick, but if LGD can get something going for them in the early game, if they can stop the 2 random kills going over to EDG, they should have a much better time towards those 2 items. Spikes, Kaisa, excuse me, has a much better, a much stronger 2-item spike than the Xayah does. So if they can get to that point without feeding over, you know, 2-3 kills to the Viper, the Snake's not going to be that venomous and they can get on with their lives. It's going to be a little bit easier, I feel, with the Nautilus to make, you know, plays happen, but a lot less safe. But Quay, I like this.
Early gank coming out from Quay. It's not going to be able to get a kill, but he gets a Dark Harvest proc. And this is creative from him. Starts on his red buff, goes for the chickens. Level 2 gank on his way to take the enemy chickens. Quay getting creative on this Lillia. He's going to find himself a couple of advantages.
This is what we talked about. This is what we mentioned in the first series, or the first game of this series, is that if you are just playing your bog standard, you know, front to back, you're waiting for things to kind of happen, nobody is going to be able to play it better than EDG. You need to throw curveballs. You need to be able to keep them on their toes, make sure they're not getting it exactly as they want to. And you can see Jiejie, he's running around. He doesn't know where this jungler is. He wants to try and find him, but he might be able to find himself a gank in this top side.
Yeah, Jiejie needs to answer now. So he popped the sweeper to see if the Krugs were up, because he predicted that Quay was going to try and take the Krugs and escape. Realized they weren't there, so now he moves up towards the top side. Cult respects it, moves away. LGD have done a perfect job. We said how EDG want to play by the book. This was the by the book move from EDG, and LGD have created a strategy to play around it specifically, but Cult has way overstepped, and Flandre trying to find a solo kill for himself. Might have gone too far. Ooh. JJ's here, though. They back away.
Cult got his spidey senses there. Flandre went a little bit too aggressive, and so I feel like he was trying to bait him out there. Felt like he was like going for it, kind of saying like, yeah, go on, try and chase down this Renekton. I've got my Taliyah in tow to kind of catch up to you. Doesn't take the bait, but JJ is still here, and JJ's still waiting to see if he can catch something off this Lillia.
I'm just going to interrupt you a second here, because Quay, while doing the scuttlecraft there, threw a swirl seed up towards the top lane and managed to get a Dark Harvest proc off of Flandre. That was so, like, just totally, like, fairly insignificant play. It's going to stop the recall, though, and it also gets him a Dark Harvest. That's just a nice little cute mechanic to see.
We've seen this Dark Harvest. You generally go with the Night Harvester as well, so you harvest a lot of things that are generally quite, you know, dark and dreary. But it is a bit of a risk overall from both sides, or from the side of LGD, because if you don't get those early Dark Harvest stacks, if you don't get that early item picked up, you are useless coming into these mid-game team fights. You need to have the early damage so that they have to respect the things like the Swirl Seed and, of course, your all-in potential with the Lilting Lullaby. Otherwise, you're just going to be a very, very squishy jungler who doesn't really do a lot in the team fights. So it's nice to see him getting those early Dark Harvest stacks. I want to see him do a little bit more. Great early start, like you said, but it's still only not even 5 minutes into this game, and Jiejie has plenty of time to bring himself back.
He certainly does, but so far so good for Quay. And let's just remember that when we were talking about this series, one of the key things that we highlighted on the side of LGD is the fact that Quay stepped in and he's one of the exciting players to watch. I love the pathing that he took early. I love the play that we've seen from him so far in this game. And when you think about LGD, like, just think back a few months and LGD was the team from LPL at Worlds that was disappointing, right? When we look at how they performed on the world stage, granted they were the 4th seed, like you shouldn't be expecting them to win the world championship, but the general feeling towards the team was of disappointment. Now they've reinvented themselves coming into this year, and Quay is one of these exciting rookies that the identity of LGD can start to revolve around, especially when he's playing like this.
Overall, yeah, I completely agree. I think for LGD, they they have options to go with, and like we said in the last game, there are shining lights for LGD. EDG though, it's so difficult to count this team out to really gotta say, oh, they're behind, because if you play them by the book, like we said over and over again, they will play correctly and they will most likely come out on top. You need to throw curveballs. They've thrown one. I need to see more. LGD have a slight opportunity here. See, come on, get going, move forward. I want to get hyped.
Yeah, I mean, they realistically, when you look at the composition, they kind of want to play front to back as well. You've got the Gnar and the Nautilus for teamfight and skirmish engages. Nice little disengage actually coming out from Colt as Flandre tried to find it all in. Did have an opportunity there. I think he could have actually just gone on Colt, but maybe just wants to reset. Dragon is on the map right now. Neither top laner has the TP available. And I would think that when you look at the bot lanes, Viper's going to have priority there against the likes of Garvey. He's on the Xayah. You could expect the EDG maybe could look towards that Dragon, especially if Scout can clear the way from it.
Oh, here we go,
bot side though. Here we go. Sleep coming down onto Meiko. Flashes into the alcove. We've got an alcove gamer on our hands right here. Chance trying to escape with his life. Should be able to do so. Scout is here, but the trouble bubble doesn't quite land. With that TP committed though, you expect them to go to Dragon.
Should have priority over this one. Nice respect from EDG to say, look, we don't want to lose anybody. And for LGD, good move. They burn a couple of summoners. They get the teleport out of Scout. They get the flash out of Meiko. So you're not going to have a flash engage from this Nautilus, or from this Maokai, excuse me, in any time soon. Garvey does have to blow his heal, but that's a minor cooldown in the grand scheme of things. And for EDG, they actually don't feel safe right now. You can see the vision isn't really in their favor in that bot side jungle. So they don't feel like they have control to comfortably go for this jungle or for this dragon. And they're just going to back away, try farm back up.
Yeah, I'm just totally wrong on that one. Neither team is choosing Dragon for right now.
That is not the correct play.
Yeah, we're having a bit of a repeat of what we had in game number 1, where not a whole lot is going to happen in the early stages of the game. Garvey playing a little bit more respectfully this time, not getting caught out on the feathers. Good stun coming through from Flandre, who's looking for a 1v1. Colt doesn't have his hop available, forced to flash. And that's a nice little play from Flandre to find an individual advantage. Quay on the Scuttle Crab, but Jiejie not quite going to get there in time. Weaver's Wall comes on through. He wants a 1v1 jungle on jungle action right here. But the real prize is going to be this blue buff if he can grab it.
Seems a lot to invest just for a blue buff. You kind of generally see the Weaver's Wall invested to try and make it an outplay of an outnumbered play in the skirmish, but Scout in a little bit of trouble mid.
Oh, this is the problem with the Syndra matchup for Zoe. You cannot dodge the E off the back of the stun. You don't have any mobility. Unfortunately, Chance picked that one up. I think it was with the dot off of Titan's Wrath. But still, nice kill coming out from LGD.
Yeah, the Ignite just a little bit too much. They do get a kill. First Blood does go over. And this is I like this from LGD. You're making a play knowing where they knew the Weaver's Wall was used. And this is why I was so surprised to see it used so, I suppose, lackadaisically, because you're using the Weaver's Wall. That is a massive global cooldown that you now no longer have. They can guarantee a 2v1 in the mid lane with no Jiejie to respond to. They know the teleport's down on Flandre if they're keeping track of, you know, summoners, and that's just a very smart, opportunistic call coming out from LGD, and a nice start for them coming into this game too.
We do have a 2v1 right now on the bottom side of the map. Garvey cannot really overextend as Flandre is opted into a 2v1 here. Jiejie's arriving, though. Ultimate not going to be available for Flandre, and he's taken down before the fight even begins. Jiejie, too late to his own birthday party, and has to back away.
This Lillia pick is causing absolute havoc for Jiejie. This guy is known pretty much for the start of the season as being very objective, like we said, very textbook, but he's not able to keep up pace with Quay. He's not able to keep him in check. He's just being pushed back constantly at all times, and I feel like it's kind of throwing EDG through a loop, exactly what we wanted LGD to do. And this is positives coming out here. They're getting advantages in top side, advantages in the mid lane. Bot lane is the only one where you could probably, you know, say they're still behind, but they're not giving up free kills, which is still more and more positives. This is great from LGD.
Yeah, really, really good stuff. And this is what we talked about before. When they can find a lead for themselves, they're incredibly good at snowballing, even as rookies. This is one of the things that was surprisingly pleasing to see, was that LGD were decisive when they had leads for themselves. They knew what to do with them, and they knew how to snowball those leads into a victory. Uniboy going to dodge the trouble bubble there. And these trades will just consistently happen between the two mid laners. If the trouble bubble lands, then Scout can win the trade. If not, Uniboy you'd expect to win it out. The question for me, though, is what can EDG do about it? Because so far this season, or so far this split, I guess both technically, EDG
Correct.
they've got 2 wins, but they've also got 2 3-game series. I want to see them get a clean win for themselves. This is the perfect opportunity for them to do that. They're not that far behind just yet. It's not even 1,000 gold for LGD. I'd love to see them win a clean series, but they do need to kind of gain control of this game, because right now LGD is setting the pace.
And this is kind of the question marks, I suppose, we've had with EDG, and why they were so vastly different in certain casters' eyes. And I have to stop myself as, oh, great steal.
Beautiful steal coming on through. Colt is going to get the Herald. He's going to get himself a kill as a bonus on top. He goes down, but he goes down a hero. He'll be saluted by everyone in the LGD fan base. In the meantime, oh no, Viper gets one. How does he pull a kill out in that situation? Viper's a god.
That was unnecessary from LGD. Great. It looked like, honestly, the greatest play from LGD to really break this game open. It was a little bit of an overextension for Colt. Honestly, is a huge win. As you said, dies a hero, takes away the Rift Herald, collects the Rift Herald, and he'll give his life up for that 100% anytime, any day, because it stops EDG from gaining pressure in the pace. It stops them from getting pressure in the tempo of this game, which we know EDG love. But in the bot side, Viper, you can't get that close to the snake. He will bite. He is venomous. And they just try to give the kill over to Garvey. They want to make sure that there's no escape, and they just step a little bit too close to the snake. Very, very nicely done. But this is a beautiful steal here from Cole. And Jiejie, he doesn't have smite. It's just straight up, you can't smite early no matter how secure you feel, because if the eye is towards the other player, you're screwed.
The daft thing is, Jiejie, there's not much that he can do about that one. The issue was the decision to do that in the first place. Quay just walks under the tower here, takes 2 extra turret shots. The Blade Caller hasn't been used at this point, so then Viper can just pull them straight on through. Really, really nicely done. But yeah, Jiejie has to back away, because otherwise Colt can just kill him. But as soon as he backs away, the Herald turns around, then the eye is just facing Colt. So Colt, I don't think he wanted to steal the Herald. I think he wanted the kill, and he's just like, oh, cool, a Rift Herald. Thanks, mate. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and this is kind of, I was going to say how you get back into this game as EDG is that you get a Rift Herald, you start getting those early kind of, turret plates and turret towers taken down, and then you just end up kind of dictating the pace purely from the map pressure that you have. Now that that's gone off the map for a couple of minutes, they're kind of back at square one, where LGD are the ones that have the tempo. LGD are the ones that are able to push forward aggressively into the top side, like we just saw, and make sure that they're denying this Renekton more and more farm. He's now 20 CS down. The advantages they had in bot lane are kind of gone now as well, as the Kaisa did pick up the kill and has almost equaled up that CS. LGD doing very, very well in this game too, to keep EDG guessing.
Yeah, really, really fairly even, honestly, when you consider how these compositions function, but 2,000 still in favor of LGD and EDG.
Oh, Garvey.
Want to change that up. Garvey's in trouble. In the meantime, Colt is going to get himself a Rift Herald on the top side. Should be able to take a couple of plates at the very least. The Root Caller once again. Garvey is a Root Caller magnet. He gets hit every single time. He's going to go down this time. The kill goes the way of Viper. Meiko dodges the Swirl Seed, but he's still going to be taken down by Quay, who just hops away with the Watch Out Eve as well. The rest of LGD now arriving, but they're late to the party. And now, at least LGD do find themselves that top tower.
Yeah, they're actually going to get another push with this, potentially. No, Flandre just sacrificed a bit of his health bar to save the turret from going very, very low, but like that kind of little play. But Colt can keep pushing up aggressively like this. He knows that everybody was just on the bot side. He might now realize that Scout's on his way up to try and take him down, but Scout realizes he's been spotted. So as soon as he walks towards that bush, he was immediately seeing the Gnar back away.
Yeah. Colt doing a good job of pushing as far as he can without overextending on this one. And this is what I was talking about before. I want to reiterate that this is why I'm excited about this LGD roster. I'm not expecting this to be a roster that tops the table in LPL. Maybe not even this year, but certainly not this split. But look at the way that they are playing. They're 1-0 down in this series, but it doesn't matter to them. As a rookie squad against EDG, they are pushing their pressure. They are answering the plays that EDG do. Anything that EDG does that's telegraphed, immediately LGD answer elsewhere on the map. And that is exciting. For a rookie squad, a lot of squads would just collapse when they're against a team like this. It's great to see LGD being so proactive.
I do want to call out Jiejie a little bit. He had the Bandle Glass mirror early on in the start. Now, again, I am not a color caster. I do not know if this is the strat, but he sold it and it's now moving up towards the Leandri's Anguish. That's putting him behind the curve, and you can see he's only just picked it up there versus fully picked up by the Lillia and Merc Treads. So there's the extra movement speed, also the extra tenacity coming in. Garvey going a bit aggressive onto Scout, puts a huge chunk onto him and dragging up in 20 seconds. This honestly feels like it's LGD's dragon to lose.
Yeah, I think Garvey was expecting that Q to be isolated. If that's an ISO Q and his W hits as well, I think that would have been a kill onto Scout. So a little unlucky on that one from Garvey, but I like the attempt. I like that Garvey is still aggressive on this Kaisa. He knows that he needs to make plays, and he knows that he has the ability to 1v1 people if anyone steps out of position. But now LGD with that mid lane prio, with the bot lane prio as well, they can just move over to this dragon. This will be their second of the game as well. So LGD, they got themselves a gold lead. They got themselves a lead when it comes to the dragons. Question is, can they keep this moving? And also, what do EDG do about it? Because it feels like they're a little out of sorts.
For EDG, you need to force a mistake. You need to make sure that LGD aren't the ones dictating the pace, and you need to come back into this game. You can see Uniboy just stacking up spears, though. He might be looking just for a scatter of the week on top of his unleashed power. Don't think he's gonna be able to get it though. But yeah, going back to my point, EDG need to find a pick. They need to find tempo, and they need to basically get the game back under their control. Right now, they are just behind in a full 5v5 team fight, and if they can get anywhere near, if they can even get anywhere near a team fight, it's going to be so difficult to lock down the likes of Uniboy or even Quay, just because they're on things that are so mobile and so hard to catch off guard unless it's a mistake. For LGD though, you're just going to want to start stacking dragons. You're going to want to start fighting around objectives. You can see them already moving towards this Rift Herald. They know they're in a much stronger position than the side of EDG, and they can force the fights to potentially get them even further ahead. And for EDG, they either need to find a pick or they need to find a mistake. That's what they need.
LGD have started this Herald, and EDG, they want to contest, but they are way too late on this one. Trouble Bubble isn't going to land. Quay manages to get the Herald, but now Nature's Grasp is going to go on through. Should find a route only onto Cult, though. Flandre can't follow up to turn it into anything. EDG really wanted to try and force this fight, but it's just not happening for them.
And again, this is the lackluster kind of setup we've seen with the Maokai, is that your engage isn't a depth charge, which is guaranteed to hit somebody. Even if they do flash, dash, and everything else away, it is 100% knockup, but it will guarantee summoners. The Nature's Grasp just is so slow moving. It almost feels like it has to be an after initiation, after the initial kind of setup, because it doesn't really work to fully set up a team fight. You can see it's very, very easy for LGD to see it coming. They back themselves away. They get one person caught with it, but at that point, they're so far away, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's not the greatest as a primary engage tool, and that's one of the things that we're going to find. When you look at this composition from EDG, there isn't that much in terms of primary engage, right? You need to kind of rely on maybe Flandre finding a flank for himself. Maybe Jiejie can get a good Weaver's Wall to pick someone off. Scout finds a Trouble Bubble. But realistically, you don't have just that clear go button like you're saying with something like a Nautilus. So it does become a little bit more difficult if EDG do start to lose control of the map. It becomes more difficult for them to face check. And even just like in terms of objectives, Flandre is basically the only player on this team that if LGD are the first ones to an objective, Flandre has to face check that one pretty much by himself because anyone else on this squad is going to get one shot.
Yeah, it becomes very difficult for a very squishy lineup overall. The Gore Drinker is great, but will it be able to do a lot in these team fights? We'll have to wait and see. Riftail locked down into this mid lane. I like this play from the side of LGD. They're trying to see if they can open up the map a little bit more, gain more control, more pressure. Meiko, though, with the Imperial Mandate, will be doing a hell of a chunk if they're not careful. And they need to be very, very careful. There's no real objective here. I don't know why they're trying to fight for.
So they're trying to set up, just trying to get mid lane priority. You expect the two teams to be trying to reset. You got a minute and 30 on the next dragon. So whoever can reset now, head back to river, will be able to set up vision control ahead of this dragon. And you can see LGD, you got Chance already resetting, so he can grab a bunch of wards, grab some pink wards potentially, and move over towards this Drake. But Uniboy has stayed way too long. The Weaver's Wall going to keep him there. But Garvey hangs around and keeps his mid laner safe. Nicely done.
And a big, massive global cooldown not available for the side of EDG, and they position so aggressively. This is why I was so confused. They're looking for a reset, but LGD weren't. LGD had just reset, so LGD were totally fine with just going for this play, and EDG were saying, right, we're going to commit everything to try and defend this, you know, this mid lane turret, and then they lose both, and they lose the rift. Like, honestly, this is looking like a kind of again, EDG. They lost tempo. They look a bit lost. They don't really know where they can go or what they want to do because they're just not sure where to go with it.
This is fantastic coming out from LGD. We saw off the back of that, off of forcing EDG out of the river, they managed to get the bot lane tower because the play from EDG doesn't work out on the bottom side. Uniboy survives. In the meantime, Cult finishes off that mid lane tower that we saw the Herald hit earlier, so it was only a couple of autos away. And then he also goes in and grabs a red buff as well, hops out through the Baron pit, and now, look at this massive priority Garvey's got on the bottom side. He can shove this wave all the way to the tier 2, so EDG have no control on the bottom side of the map. Priority is equalized in the mid lane as it's easily shoved out by Uniboy at this point. They can set up for the dragon fight.
Yeah, and this is the big problem that you have from the side. Oh, Garvey. Garvey! Run away, buddy.
Garvey.
Flash if you have to. Get out of there.
Yeah, I don't know why he's trying to look for a flank. I think he's forgetting that he's an AD carry. This is not how the role functions. Everything is on cooldown for Garvey coming into a very important fight. That's not ideal here. Sleepy Trouble goes through onto Uniboy, followed up a little bit, but the root doesn't come on through. Nature's Grasp going to keep everyone away here. Dragon started by the side of EDG. They're trying to get this one for themselves, trying to sneak it away, but they're forced back out of the play. Sleepy Trouble bubble in the middle of everyone, but doesn't connect. Smite fight is the case, and it's going to go the way of EDG. First Drake of the game for them, and now the fight ensues, but EDG health bar's already low. Garvey jumps onto the backline and finds an assassination. In the meantime, 4 members strong. Knock up across the team here as Quay trying to finish him off. Health bar's dipping down on both sides. The Scout picking up more and more kills. Quay trying to escape, but the speed boost is there. One more Q would do it, and a trouble bubble to boot.
Unforced errors is what you want to see if you're an EDG fan from the side of LGD. That was just such a scrappy start to the fight, but again and again we're seeing LGD not respect where the feathers are flying. They're getting caught up in the roots, and Flandre was just able to do so much work onto the backside. Colt gets in, but he doesn't really get the ultimate off, and honestly that was just great. And right now you're looking at this, they get pressure into the mid lane, they can get pressure into the bot side. They might be able to pick up 1 or 2 of these turrets, but overall that was huge gold swing for the side of EDG.
And that is such an important win for them as well. They were starting to lose control of the game. They get that Drake, so no soul point for LGD, but also they win on just mechanical prowess, right? On the full 5v5 that was pure chaos, by the way, they managed to take the win.
And this is how the fight goes in. It looks like a fantastic ult available in there. He flashes in, but he only lands 1 stun. So Colt's just going to get in free fire. Look at the feathers. As soon as the rest of LGD tried to go in, they get immediately called back. They can't do anything. And at that point, Flandre is able to 1v1 the AD carry. And Scout is just huge. He's just free hitting, full mana pretty much. Nowhere near dead in terms of his health bar. Just able to clean up house, and this is when EDG can start dictating the pace. This is when EDG are scary, because now they're going to be the ones looking to try and create the pressure rather than just accepting it.
Colt manages to get a blue. Colt is just farming the enemy jungle at this point. He took the red buff earlier, takes a blue buff now. I was really, really impressed as well by Flandre in that fight. You mentioned how he managed to take out Garvey. Garvey flies into the back line, manages to get a pick onto Jiejie, but then immediately Flandre just completely zones him. Gets pulled to the side by chance, but then as soon as Garvey thinks he can get a couple of hits in, flashes straight on top of him, gets the stun, finishes off the kill. So really, really nicely done. Not just to get a lot of pressure out in terms of zoning, but to follow it up and find a kill for himself. What goes through? JJ's fine though. Chance has gone a bit too deep for this one. Garvey now jumps in as well, gets the kill onto Jiejie. Meiko's on one side, Colt's surrounding them in LGD. They are not going to let this game go without a fight. Scout gets one to answer, but it's 2 versus 3 here as Quay tries to find his way in. Colt going to be trying to stop Scout escaping. One more boomerang does the trick, and now Flandre on a blast cone trying to escape for himself. Quay hopping around, chasing him down. It's a quick old deer, but the alligator escapes.
And now look at what they can do. They've got so much pressure in the lanes. The side lanes weren't fully reset by the side of EDG, so now they've got pressure in the mid lane, the top lane, and the bot. They can push in all these lanes, maybe get themselves a couple of turrets, and then set up around the Baron. That was honestly felt like a massive overforce from the side of LGD, but they knew that they had the advantage purely because Viper was isolated from the rest of his team. I didn't check on the minimap, and that is why they hard committed to that play. They knew that the super fed AD carry was not there and available to push out the constant DPS, and they capitalized on it.
Yeah, beautiful. And it's so good to see Garvey is so willing to just fly into these fights. We'll see it later in the replay.
Yeah, you can see here, like, they're just kind of separated. Viper goes forward, the rest of his team go back, and then Viper's not there, so they fully commit to the 100% in all in, because yes, they are in a 5v4 and kind of separate themselves, and, you know, it doesn't really make sense numbers-wise, but they know that it's effectively a 2v2 and a 3v2. It just works out overall in favor of LGD, and these are the kind of plays I'm glad to see them doing, because like we said, EDG, they want to play a slow, methodical game. They do not want you to be throwing in curveballs, and that's a massive curveball. Resets the entire tempo, gets a huge amount of gold influx into, you know, Garvey, who now has 3 items, finishing up that Phantom Dancer.
Yeah, and I want to highlight, you can see Colt on the left of your screen there, or in fact, you probably can't see Colt on the left of your screen, because I just realized I get a different feed to you guys. But Colt is individually 2,400 gold up right now. Flandre, honestly, getting a little bit outclassed. That was very, very close for Chance. He just gets away.
That was squeaky bum time right there. Well. Yeah, you could feel the wind whistling past his butt cheeks as it hit him. Like,
you could say that it was threaded past him. But Flandre in a bit of trouble here. Uniboy knows he can't go too close to the alligator. We'll let him escape. But Colt, you can see a full item up in between these top laners right now, and he's been doing so much work during these team fights to shut everybody out of the play. Meiko now on this Maokai has to flash away, but he's put to sleep. Nature's Grasp gonna deter the follow-up. Scouts arrived on the scene as well, but Colt is in a flanking position. He's coming from the bottom side of the map.
Have got pressure in the lanes. This is dangerous for the side of EDG. They need to make a commitment right now. Dragon is available, and I feel like they're just going to let Colt try and take it. But no, here's the call. I like this. Decisive movement here from EDG. They know that they're going to try and get separated. They just go straight, look, we're going to go one to the Dragon, and we're going to contest you at the Baron. They're contesting on both fronts. Weaver's Wall here.
Trying to trap them in the Baron pit here. Garvey going to be tanking the Baron, which is not ideal for LGD. This is going to force them off of the play. In the meantime, Flandre managed to force Colt away from the Dragon as well. This is beautifully played from EDG. That was... Oh, no! How does that not hit? Disastrous for Scout. So unlucky. But really, really nicely done, because that was a lot of pressure that LGD were putting on. EDG managed to answer on both sides of the map.
And that was a little bit of a greedy call there from LGD. They did not expect the fact that EDG would just send off Flandre to deal with that, you know, Colt taking away the Baron. They do lose the Dragon now, so now we're looking at 2 for 2. So we're not going to see an Elder Drake or a Dragon Soul for a very, very long time. But now with the rest of EDG, they've scattered around the map. They've taken themselves. They've rested on their laurels. They made the wrong call, and now they're going to catch someone out as well.
Scout survives though. Baron at half HP as Flandre is still heading towards the mid lane. He's nowhere near right now. This has to be a steal basically from Jiejie. Flashes into the pit, looks for it, won't be able to find it for himself. Colt goes down though. It's 1 for 1 when it comes to the kills, and EDG want to turn this into a fight. Meiko gonna go into this one, but the Zhonya's keeping Quay alive for now. Will bounce away from the play, but Chance is gonna be the sacrificial lamb as Garvey and Quay try and escape. Uniboy is off on the side, but Scout is here and he wants the 1v1. Quay will fall as well, and EDG find another fight.
That was so bad to start off for EDG. They just decided to, as I said, rest on the laurels. They made the wrong call. They go to split around the map without teleports available to Flandre, but it ends up working out for them purely because they can get a huge amount of damage onto the carries of LGD just purely from the Baron because it took them so long to take. They bring themselves back in. Now they've got pressure in all 3 lanes. They're going to be able to crack open this inhibitor, inhibitor turret, and finally get the tier 1 turret in the top side as well. So overall, EDG coming back, and we're at an even Stevens game in terms of gold, but it's tit for tat right now. Anyone's game still, in my opinion.
Yeah, this is such an exciting game, and once again, EDG and going to 3 games. Name a more iconic duo. We'll see if LGD can force that. Great ult coming out there from Cult, but ultimately, when it comes down to the fight, it's EDG that managed to get on top. And this is 2v4 to start.
Yeah, you can see Uniboy is, or sorry, not Uniboy, Scout is in the base. He's now TPing in. So this is a 2v4, but the health bars are so low, and Flandre is so big. Sterix and the Gore Drinker just makes him such a scary prospect. And Garvey trying his very best to do what kiting AD carries can do. We've seen those situations before with, like, you know, Jackie Love, Uzis, you know, Hell Viper, where he's able to just weave in absolutely. It's almost a dance at how beautifully elegant it is, but I can't keep talking because they're going to have a fight.
Here we go. I mean, well, chance is gone. That's one way to start the fight. Garvey has found himself very alone in the world, and there's 2 of them to deal with, so his Q doesn't do as much as he would like. Flandre now in a 1 versus 3, but that's Renekton's comfort zone, all right. Cult is trying to back away from this one, should be able to escape. That is 3 kills for 1. EDG will take that any day of the week.
EDG just kind of showing them that they're just better players, and I don't want to be too disrespectful on the side of, you know, LGD, but they're just getting caught out. Like, look, they go for a pick and then they get trouble bubbled. Now it's 3v2.
Yeah, EDG inside track in the mid lane, but they decide this is not the play. And this is the difficulty now for EDG, is they found themselves some advantages in these fights, but it's not actually a win condition yet. Look at the gold difference. We're basically even still. 1,000 apart is not enough at 30 minutes to write home about. They're finding a couple of advantages. They're slowly but surely starting to take some towers. They still haven't managed to find an inhib. 2 minutes on the Drake, but it's going to be a Cloud Drake anyway, and it'll only be Soul Point for either team. It wouldn't be Soul. And then even the Baron. We saw LGD take a Baron, but they were immediately aced, so there's no actual Baron buff coming in. So neither team has a significant win condition yet.
This fight was very weird for me on the side of LGD. You're investing a huge amount of summoners and pressure onto the support. You're throwing everything in the kitchen sink onto the Maokai. That's not the problem right here. The problem is the carries. The problem, honestly, right now is Flandre and Scout. You need to try and catch out this Zoe. You need to try and catch out this Renekton. If you can burn Hysterics Gauge before a big fight, you're in a much better position to try and take these, you know, kind of 5v4s or even a slightly outnumbered skirmish. But going all in on Meiko, that's not it. I don't know what it is, but that ain't truth. That ain't the play.
And I think as well, you've got to start to look towards Viper as well. We talked about he's on this side. It'll take a while to get into the game. He's on 4 items. There is no more getting into the game. Viper is firing on all cylinders, and in these fights, you can see that he was willing to chase Garvey down on that one. Garvey is starting to have a bit of a hard time now as we're heading later and later into the game. Look at the CS deficit in that AD carry role. It's almost 100 in favor of Viper. As now they start to siege on the bottom side of the map. They're going to trade a tier 2 bot here and maybe a dragon as well in 20 seconds. In the meantime, Scout has to move up towards the top side to try and answer the push that Cult is pushing in.
Yeah, Cult doesn't really know where the rest of EDG have gone. As you can see, vision control 100% in favor of the side of EDG. So LGD needs to be playing a much better and more precise game. Garvey trying to see if he can get a push in the mid lane. But I like this from LGD. This isn't Soul Point. You're not giving up a billion things here. And the trouble bubble. Weaver's Wall comes out as well.
Just from Scout. Oh my days. What a pick from him. Garvey overextends and Scout is more than happy to punish him for it. Beautiful stuff. There's a wave pushed in on the top side. Maybe the cannon minion can finish the tower, but who cares? Because EDG are at least going to get an inhib surely off the back of this one. The pick onto Garvey is massive, and they can run straight down the mid lane. Garvey, you forced me to play-by-play a little bit. That was such a bad play from you, but such a great opportunistic take from the side of Scout. No. The sleep coming in, though, that's huge if they can follow it up. But that was a really nice Nature's Grasp out of Meiko to deter any further engage. And it looks like EDG, they get the inhib, they get away with it.
Yeah, QSS was available for Viper, so again, the late game kind of Viper is here. He's got Flash, he's got Heal, he's got his ultimate, and the QSS of the Mercurial Scimitar, which has now been fully completed. He's got so many ways of just protecting himself, keep himself alive. What's the call coming out here from LGD? It looks like they want to go for Baron, maybe try and force a little bit of a constant trade here, as they know that EDG had to reset.
Well, Baron's up in 20 seconds. Whether or not they can actually just burst this one will be a different question. Scout is nearby as well. He's just finishing off these Raptors for himself. Bear in mind as well, I just want to throw out that Scout has himself that Magi Soul Stealer. He's on 13 stacks right now. A couple of picks at the start of the fight, and suddenly Scout like doubles in strength across the rest of the skirmish. So just keep that in the back of your mind as we move towards the next fight. But also, Garvey is on 4 items now. He's got that Collector. He's got a Gale Force as well. Even though we talk about Xayah being the late game AD carry, if Garvey can find someone isolated, he's going to one-shot them.
And for me, I'm looking at the side of LGD, and they need to burn this stopwatch on top of Zoe right now. Scout having that extra bit of safety means that he can just keep throwing out these paddle stars, going in with his ultimate. It's not going to be that dangerous for him at all, but with the vision they have, they can just keep going for these picks.
The trouble lands, but Nautilus, this is one of the nice things, is you can pull yourself out of the CC if you can buffer the Q. Blade Caller just catches onto chance there. And EDG now can force the issue, because Cult is in Mega Gnar right now. As soon as that runs out, as soon as he goes mini, suddenly LGD can't team fight anymore. Stun goes wide from Uniboy. EDG, they're just fighting for vision and control right here, as LGD try and find themselves a bit of a way through the mid lane.
This isn't really bad for LGD right now, because the waves are very much an even-Steven setup. We actually see the Weaver's Wall going to be used to try and just dissuade them. This is looking like EDG. They don't really know what they want to go for, the Baron or the fight.
Trace in, flashes over the wall, gets straight onto Quay. Now the rest of the team comes in. Scout, massive damage across the squad here, but he has to go golden himself. As Cult trying to pressure in the 1v1 here. They're on the wrong sides of the map. LGD have a free ticket to get straight on towards this inhib if they want. They've got minions under the tower, but they've waited too long and they've been cleared by the Super's Viper. Ooh. Incredibly low, but the QSS keeps him alive for now. Scout now with the trouble bubble goes on towards Chance. Garvey's going to try and bully him away. The 1v1 favors Garvey, but he backs off in the end. Can't chase too deep for this one. Scout misses on the trouble bubble. Flandre moves forward, but the Sterex makes him invincible. Viper's knocked up in the meantime. Still 1 HP, but he's got a GA to work with as well. But Flandre is about to fall into the GA of his own. Into the fight they go. They're trying to execute LGD. One by one, they're starting to fall. Scout survived. Everybody's somehow surviving. Garvey goes in to try and clean it up, but Scout's on the scene. Garvey forced to flash back over the wall, and now they're chasing down on towards the rest of the members. Quay suddenly alone in the world. Just like Bambi, he might get shot down as well. Flandre will chase him through the jungle as EDG run it up mid.
That was such a strangely close fight there. EDG and LGD not giving any quarter to either side, but now with this to keep Quay away, they know the death timers are too big. They can go for the end here. EDG, they look like they're going to take their first 2-0.
Yeah, Quay trying to escape in the meantime, but Flandre, he doesn't need the kill. He just has to stop the recall. Viper is still firing on all cylinders, and this is going to be game 2-0 with a fantastic set of team fights out of EDG.
And EDG, with a very, very scrappy end to that game, do get their first 2-0 in the LPL, but you can see it on their face. They're not exactly ecstatic about that win. They know it was a bit risky. They know they have a lot to improve on, and you can see the cock in there. They know that could have went a hell of a lot differently.
Yeah, there's definitely still work to do off the back of this one, but hey, a 2-0 is a 2-0. A dub is a dub at the end of the day. And you know what, EDG, they can walk away with a 3-0 scoreboard on the standings right now. They are going to be tied, I believe, for first place. Maybe less than first place just on game difference at this point, because they have gone to 3 games twice at this stage. But still, a monumental win for them, a 2-0 at the end of the day. LGD, once again, I don't want them to walk away too dejected from this series. The fact that game 2 is this close, the fact that they took a game off of V5 before, this is a rookie squad coming in, and they are looking way above and beyond what I expected out of them.
Yeah, honestly, I feel like LGD, that game looked very, very solid for them. And then, yes, they lost it. Yes, they're 2-0. But again, I have to keep reiterating, this is a team that are yet to see their full roster realized. They are still waiting for Kramer, who is still waiting on visa issues to be cemented in. I'll be honest, it's maybe looking like he mightn't have it until Chinese Spring Festival is over. It's a little bit unfortunate, but we can have our fingers crossed and hope they get it sorted as quick as possible. But for EDG, this is a great move forward. They are currently, 3-0 in the standings. They've got themselves that third win. It's looking good for this team. They're building off it. And yes, the wins are scrappy. Yes, they are, kind of not the cleanest of all, but they're still wins. And they joined Team WE at the top.
Yeah, beautiful stuff to see. EDG managed to get 3-0 on the scoreboard as well. And me and Hysterics made a bet that EDG wouldn't make it to playoffs, and I'm starting to regret joining in on that bet at this point because it's looking a little bit inevitable. And hey, we're back on camera. We're back in the scene. So welcome.
My hair is a mess. I do apologize.
But yeah, this is a really, really good look for EDG. The fact that they're drafting these compositions and playing them so nicely, playing towards their win condition. Scout as well, by the way, today has looked amazing. Scout, I think last split was a little lackluster. It wasn't that he was playing bad. He just wasn't really stepping up to be the carry for the team. It feels like maybe now that he's got Viper alongside him, these two carries on this team, both of them seem to have leveled up being with one another. I don't know quite what it is, but it feels like this is a squad that can really take over a game now. And it feels like Scout on things like the Zoe, Viper obviously on pretty much any AD carry you give him, they both have the ability to take over.
Yeah, and I think the positive for EDG is that when we talk about the top teams in the LPL, you look towards Top Esports, Suning, JDG, IG, you want to say that they have an argument for best in their role in every single lane. The reason why a lot of people are so, I suppose, skeptical of a team like WE being a top 4 team is that we're not really quite sure if we can say that their bot lane is a best in role. But for the side of EDG, Flandre, Scout, Viper, all these guys are super, super solid guys. And having those winning lanes, having those, pop-off potentials from any lane whatsoever is huge if you want to be going towards, international competitions.
Yeah, certainly when we talk about best in role as well, this is something that we'll talk about across the course of the year, and we'll see if EDG can develop into this team, because that's the big question. This is the potential we're talking about, right? This is like what could be, and we've said this about EDG before in the past, and it's not always the way that it ends up going across the course of the year. So fingers crossed, this is just a teaser of what's to come over the course of 2021 for EDG, because I was one of the naysayers coming into this season on this EDG roster, and I am more than happy to be proved wrong, because I'm starting to get excited about this roster now. I'm starting to really believe. So when it comes to playoffs as well, let's just remember there are 10 teams in playoffs this time. So making it to playoffs is that a little bit easier, and the opportunity for the miracle run is a little bit better. But also teams like EDG that are very good at playing towards their win conditions and play towards their draft in a best of 5, you'd expect that's the kind of style that's going to come out on top.
Yeah, and for, like we said, top 10 teams, you just have to be better than average. That's all you got to be doing. It's like, out of 17 teams, the average is, averaging that out, it's 8.5. So be in the top 10, a little bit better than average, and you're into playoffs. Of course, you do not want to be down in 10th or 7th place, because those are the first playoff matches. It's a double King of the Hill that leads into a top 4 double elimination. It's a very convoluted, but like you said, it is very much alive for you to make the miracle run if you can find that win streak towards the end of the split. Yeah,
and we'll see. I mean, we'll come back to playoffs later down the line, because as well, I don't know why I'm bringing up playoffs really. It's week 3. I'm getting ahead of myself, but. This is definitely a roster that we can get excited for at this point. And also, from the side of LGD, I was impressed by some of the team fighting we saw today. Because looking at EDG, you expect this to be a team fighting team, right? With Viper and Scout, you've got your classic mid and ADC carries. You've got Flandre, that's a very flexible top laner. And then you have your jungle and your support that are going to be very much that supporting cast. It feels like classic League of Legends with EDG. So when you think about that, generally speaking, you're going to lean towards team fighting as a standard strategy. On the side of LGD, you got rookies galore. You don't really know what to expect stylistically out of these guys, but they were finding opportunities and they were finding really nice mechanical plays during the fights. And especially Garvey, despite being on an off roll for him, still confident, still happy to just fly in with the killer instinct to look for a 1v1, look for a 2v1. Really, really great stuff to see out of LGD, that they are still playing with confidence and they are trying to get these wins. They're not just going to roll over and accept the defeat.
Yeah, and I do like that. I like the fact that, you know, just for a team like LGD, like we said, not playing with their full roster, not playing with their full strength, they're still going for it. They're not just sitting back and dying a death of 1,000 cuts. They're looking for opportunities. And again, it's again and again, we're seeing LGD just trying to go from strength to strength, trying to find some kind of a foothold. It's unfortunate for them that they're just not really gaining it, because bot lane's just so important, I feel, and you can see the small mistakes just kind of costing them games, unfortunately.
Yeah, it's a difficult one, and hopefully LGD. I'm actually excited for this roster. I'm hoping over the course of 2021, this is a roster that can grow and that can build up as a unit. Whether or not that can happen, different question entirely, and we'll just have to wait and see. Let's take a look at some highlights, though, because we've got a treat for you. This is basically a montage, because these are Viper highlights, and what he was able to pull off across this game was just beautiful.
Yeah, honestly, this guy is looking like the real deal. And you might say that AD carries is kind of a small pool of very talented people and then kind of a load of average people, but Viper really pushing him forward to potentially be considered one of the best AD carries in the league right now. Especially on current form, you got to maybe put him ahead of the likes of, you know, LWX and definitely Jackie Love, who just hasn't really been able to find the same kind of form with top esports. So again, very long season, but Viper has looked good. He's just looked very solid.
Yeah, Viper looking absolutely incredible right now, and in these team fights, his positioning is fantastic, but his blade callers as well, not his blade callers, his feather storms have been so crucial. Being able to go for this 1v1 with Garvey, but also dodging a bit of the damage as it comes towards him, so that Scout can arrive and help finish that one off. So really beautiful stuff. 130% damage to gold ratio as well. But across this series, showing that he could play this Xayah, which, bear in mind, today is the first time he's played Xayah this year. He's played every other AD carry in the meta. This was his 6th different AD carry pick. It's only their 3rd series on the board. That is insane.
Yeah, it is honestly just so nice to see for EDG fans. You're finally being rewarded after so long of just not being able to do anything, because they have a massively dedicated fan base, a huge amount of people who absolutely love this team, and it feels like they're being rewarded. It feels like they can get excited about this roster. Yes, there are small little things that you need to try and figure out, that you need to try and just like tweak up a little bit. That second game was not clean by any stretch of the imagination, but it looks positive, and that's the important thing for EDG.
Yeah, it looks really, really good, and there are big things ahead of this team. This roster has a lot ahead of them. I'm excited to discover it over the course of the year, and I'm sure you guys at home are as well. In a moment or two, we should have a winners interview with our guys from EDG as well, and we'll see who it is. In fact, I've just been told by production it's ready now. Fingers crossed it's Viper, but we'll have to wait and see.